Hello, Star Wars fans. Today is going to be my breakdown and reaction to Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 9, The Harbinger. Basically, a harbinger is someone that brings news, and in this case, the news is not necessarily good. So, very good episode. Can't wait to discuss it. Now, there will be spoilers, but as long as you're okay with that, then let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget, we have a March contest running all month long. Be a subscriber, leave a comment. You might win a book or a steel book. Best of luck. Also, we have a membership option in case you want to help me with my goal of doing this full-time one day. You get lots of cool perks like custom emojis and behind-the-scenes videos, but no matter how you support the channel, it's all greatly appreciated. Leaving comments, liking videos, subscribing, those things all go a long way. So thank you so much. So we start with, well, not a very good day on the island, to be honest. Normally it's nice and sunny and, well, normally looks like this, right? But not today. Today is gloomy and downcast, and honestly, it makes me think this is kind of like the Harbinger, the bad news that's coming. So hopefully we'll have more days that look like this, but I kind of fear that won't be the case. However, in the meantime, we do see that Crosshair is making friends, right? This lady seems kind of maybe a little smitten to him. So thank you for your help, Crosshair. He doesn't say much, though, of course. And Wrecker's like, oh, look at that. You made a new friend. So maybe the meditation that Omega's teaching him is helping, right? It can't hurt, at least. But right down to business with Hunter, as he says, we're still on the hunt for the M-Count info. We can't be prepared if we don't know what we're dealing with. But I think Crosshair has a really good point. Does it matter? I mean, we're not handing her over to the Empire no matter what. And in fact, as they are going to find out, asking about M-Count info may have been a bad idea. It may be what's bringing the bad news. But more on that later. In the meantime, Omega is searching a cave, and Batcher, who thought Batcher would still be around, right? I really thought Batcher was going to be one and done when she escaped Tantus early on. Nope, Batcher's still there. I love it. But she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she says, it's just a cavern. We've been here plenty of times, but we all know caverns in Star Wars lead to bad things. I mean, the Luke Skywalker cavern, that was scary. I will never get this image out of my mind. I mean, that is just the creepiest looking thing I've ever seen. That Luke head and that expression on his face. Yeesh. So yeah, be careful when you go in caves, because maybe you're going to run into Asajj Ventress. Oh my word. Yeah, she does not look happy. So let's talk a little bit about her history, because it's going to come into play in the episode, and I think that I really want your opinion on a couple things. So anyway, so initially she was born on Dathomir, the witch planet, of course, but was taken away by the criminal Halstead. And so she started, therefore, being trained as a criminal. Then she was rescued by a Jedi, Kynarek. Of course, here we see Ventress force pushing that dude way far away. And the Narek is saying, hey, you're strong with the Force, little one. And there she is. Oh, so sweet. Look at her. So now she's so first trained as a criminal, right? Now being trained as a Jedi. But then a Kynarek dies. He's shot in the back. And Dooku takes over. So he says, I will teach you in the ways of the dark side. So first she'll learn to be a criminal, then a Jedi, then a Sith. Now, it's important to keep in mind, though, she was not a Sith. She learned the ways of the dark side and became a Sith assassin. So the rule of two was still in place. However, even though she did lots of good things during the Clone Wars for Dooku, here we see her working with the droids, and here we see her fighting Ahsoka Tano. Nonetheless, Sidious was very nervous that she would turn, and so Sidious had Dooku betray her. So now she's betrayed, and she returns to Dathomir again and becomes a full Night Sister. So, oh my goodness, everything's going her way. She's got Jedi, she's got Sith, she's a Night Sister, criminal. Oh, she's not done yet, though. Then she leaves. She's not a Sith or a Jedi at this point, and instead becomes a pirate. So gains a lot of money from that. Oh my goodness, she has done about everything possible. Then she meets and eventually falls in love with Quinlan Vos. Of course, Quinlan was in some of the earlier Clone Wars episodes, and unfortunately, there were 8 episodes that were going to be part of the Clone Wars, and when it got canceled, they never got made. However, they were turned into the novel Star Wars Dark Disciple, which is considered canon. So in that novel, they fall in love, as I mentioned, and this is really important. Ventress is absolved for all of her crimes during the Clone Wars, all the things that she did wrong, because she helped Quinlan. And so the Jedi Council absolved her of everything. Her criminal record was erased, but ultimately she is killed by Dooku, who betrays her. And then she's brought back to Dathomir again. And this is me guessing here, but notice these are the Night Sisters, of course, from Ahsoka series. Since they can bring things back from the dead, they brought back Darth Maul, and they obviously brought the Night Troopers back. So I'm guessing that's how somehow they brought back Asajj Ventress. They still had the body, and so they were able to bring her spirit back. So who knows, because they don't explain in this episode. But anyway, that is a brief history of Asajj with my guess as to how she came back. Let me know your thoughts. How do you think she came back from the dead? But anyway, she is showing up now because she has information to share. So the Batch is saying, hey, let Omega go. And by the way, who are you? And she says, Fennec sent me. So, okay, Fennec, promised she would send someone, and she did indeed. It's Ventress. But then the Batch realizes, wait, we never gave her our coordinates. How'd you find us? And Ventress is awesome. For rogue troopers who are trying to lay low, you're failing spectacularly. Ouch. But she does say that she has something to tell them. She says, I hear you've been asking questions about M count. And by the way, that's very reckless to inquire about it. But since you asked, I'll tell you. She says it's something in the blood. Everyone has it, but at varying levels. Those with a high count were believed to be more capable of wielding the Force. Your blood doesn't make you a Jedi. That's important. So everybody's nodding right now, like, yes, thank you. You'd have to be trained for that. So yeah, very good description of M count and the Force. And then she says, I've never known a clone to be Force sensitive, but the Kaminoans did make millions of you, so I suppose it's possible. Now, that's kind of interesting. I've never heard a number assigned to how many clones were created. Millions. Wow, that's cool. But she says, here it comes. She uses the M word. Can you believe it? She says, I can't determine your midichlorian levels without testing you. I think that's the first time we have heard the word midichlorian used since 1999. Right? IRL, 1999, but basically in the Phantom Menace. So yeah, that's wild. That word has been a dirty word in Star Wars for some reason. So yay, bringing it back. You're bringing it back, Ventress. But then, she says, Omega says, I want to be tested. So Ventress says, well, remember, you asked for this. So the testing begins. And immediately the complaining begins. Omega's like, the rock is slippery. And then says, how does standing on one leg have anything to do with M count anyway? Well, for the record, Omega, love you. I love you to death. But Luke was upside down on one hand with Yoda in the air. So, it looks like Ventress is trying to pull some of the Yoda tactics here. But come on, Omega. You can handle this. You're just on one foot with an apple on your head. But then I love this, though. This is a good line because Ventress says, let go of your conscious mind. And Omega says what we've all wanted to say. Conscious mind, I don't even know what that means because I don't. How do you let go of your conscious mind? But anyway, then finally, Omega finally slips. And I love that Ventress knows she's going to slip and grabs the apple before it falls. So then she says, try again. And while Ventress may have been channeling Yoda a little earlier, never say try, Ventress. You remember, right? Do or do not. There is no try. So yeah, oops, demerit for you, Ventress. But then Omega asks, are you a Jedi? And Ventress says, no, but I know some of their ways. And this cracks me up. Why does it say person? In the closed captioning, they literally label Ventress as person. Were they worried that someone would get a hold of the closed captioning and realize Ventress is in the episode? I don't know. I don't know why. But anyway, that's really funny. But so no, she says, I'm not a Jedi, but I do know some of their ways. So meanwhile, the Batch has been checking up on Ventress. So they checked text files from the Republic archives. Now keep that in mind. Republic archives, okay? So keep that in mind. So there they are. They pull her up, and there she is. Nice little picture there. It's her. It's Asajj Ventress, they realize. And then they say, why would a separatist assassin be helping us? Okay, so pausing there for a minute. Why do they still call her an assassin? Because, as I mentioned, when I went through her chronology, she was absolved of all her crimes by the Jedi Council, mind you, and died a hero's death trying to save Quinlan Vos. In fact, she did save Quinlan Vos. So that's interesting. Was that just not in the Republic files? But I do understand, they don't really like separatists. I get that because they fought separatists forever, but they also saved a separatist. Remember the Singh guy from earlier this season and, of course, earlier seasons as well. So I don't know. That's a little interesting that they were so against Asajj at this point. But Asajj realizes they're talking behind her back and says, okay, Omega, we're moving on to the next test. There's a weeping Maya tree up on the colonnade. You need to retrieve one of those white blossoms and return before the sun sets. Now, I think everybody but Omega knew this was just to get her out of the room so the adults could have a discussion. Then Omega kind of cheats, but hey, you use your resources. Maybe that's not cheating. So she takes off, and meanwhile, I love this. Ventress has just turned her back, not even looking at them, and says, whatever you're planning on doing, it won't end well for you. And then they say, go, leave. We just want you to leave. And she says, well, I'll consider it once I finish testing Omega's abilities. So basically she's saying, I ain't leaving. I ain't leaving until I figure out whether she has an M count, right? And they say, oh, no, wrong. Get on your ship and go before we make you. I love this exchange coming up here. You can try. We've taken down worse. So have I. Wow. That's awesome. So Ventress decides, you know what, we don't need any weapons. Uses a force pull and rips their weapons out of their hands. And now we move to some pretty cool hand-to-hand fighting. I honestly haven't seen hand-to-hand fighting in a while because it's normally either with blasters or sabers. So this move is nice. And we got this block here. That's pretty cool. Oof. That looks like that's right where it counts. So sorry, Crosshair. Then this good move on Hunter. Nice parry there. And then he gets kicked too in the stomach. And then she goes after Wrecker. Now this is tough because Wrecker, we know, is strong. But she does this nice move, slides underneath him, knocks him over, and then does a flying elbow crunch. Look at that. Whack right on him with her elbow. And I know what a flying elbow crunches are because, yes, that is me. Not a very good video because this was filmed a long time ago. But yes, that is me wrestling a chair. You can check out the video. It's on my YouTube channel. It's pretty scary. But yeah, look at that. Look at that height, man. I was a good 3 feet in the air. I don't know how I didn't break an arm there. But so yeah, Wrecker, that's got to hurt Wrecker because I can tell you, it hurt me and it hurt the chair. But anyway, yeah, so she takes him down, got him in a leg crush there. And then finally decides, okay, I'm done with this. And force pushes them away. Meanwhile, and then they pick up their weapons. Time to bring out the weapons, right? And she says, why don't you be good little clones and stand down? Oh, don't say that to these guys. We're not big on following orders. So, hey, if they get their weapons out, she gets hers out, right? She says, I wasn't planning on killing you, but you're making it very tempting. I love that. I just love that. And they're like, yeah, we're good at that. Yes, you guys are. Then, of course, right then, in comes Omega. So you've got, while Ventress is force choking Wrecker, got Hunter with her saber in his face, and Crosshair's knocked out. So yeah, she's like, oh, I got the white blossom, and huh? I love her response. What's going on? I'm like, no, Omega, this is when you do the Ant-Man meme. What the hell happened here? Or even better, you do the Armageddon meme. Right, remember in Armageddon? Hopefully you've seen that movie. Such a good movie. But anyway, where Bruce Willis uses those giant pliers and strangles one of the government dudes, and in walks his other buddies, and they're like, all right, what do we miss? It's such a good movie. But yeah, Omega, you're too calm. You're too calm for this scene. But nonetheless, interestingly enough, Hunter says she's a war criminal. So back again to the book, right? Remember I mentioned she's been absolved of all her crimes. Why are they saying this? And look at this response she gives on top of that. She says, times have changed. Okay, that's not what I would have said. I would have said, hey, your little Jedi buddies absolved me of all my crimes. Back off. So I'm wondering, have they retconned the book? At least that part of the book where her crimes are not absolved? Because why would the Republic not have that in there? I mean, I guess maybe the Jedi Council didn't tell anybody? I don't know. That's really interesting. Let me know your thoughts. But I mean, I hope she's been absolved of her crimes because that's kind of cool to think that after all she's been through that, you know, she's not a wanted person. Otherwise, everybody would be after her, trying to kill her. So very interesting. I'm just a little surprised by their responses. But then she says, we were all pawns in the same war and we all lost. That's a good response. That's a really good response. And then she makes sure they understand the Empire is more dangerous than you could possibly fathom. And she says, I am many things, but I am not your enemy. So she heads out to go decide what to do next, while they decide also, do we trust her? And Hunter, no surprise, right? Ventress can't be trusted. You don't know the things she did during the war, Omega. We do. Now, I respect that position. Even if you've been absolved of your crimes, people can still be upset about them. I'm just more confused as to why they don't realize that, she's not a war criminal anymore. But anyway, I love Omega. She shines yet again and says, well, I never gave up on you, Crosshair, did I? I say we give her a chance. So I don't think they wanted to do it, but the batch does let her go back to complete the testing. So fine, let's do the final test. And I think this exchange is so funny. Omega, who's always smiling, Ventress is like, stop smiling. It's unsettling. That's funny. That's really funny. It is unsettling when someone is always happy. You're like, I want you to be unhappy for just 1 minute, please. Tell me that if you drop a rock on your foot, you're not still going to be smiling. But anyway, then this final test, she explains, is that many who wield the Force have an affinity for nature. They connect with things that respond to their energy. So in particular, Ventress wants Omega to try to respond to the fish, or try to control the fish, to to meld with the fish and have them respond to her energy. So then Wrecker's about to get busted. I love this. Wrecker's checking out what's going on, and there's Omega, trying to get those fishies to respond to her commands. And then he looks over at Ventress, who does the horror movie look right at him. Yikes, right? I mean, that's just creepy. And then he's like, how does she know we're watching? But anyway, poor Omega cannot do it. The fishies are not responding. She says, this isn't working. I don't feel anything. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. So Ventress has to get up and once again pull a Yoda and show her how to do it. And I say pull a Yoda because, yeah, that looks so similar, right? And then, sure enough, she's able to send out the energy and the fish start spinning around the ship. It was a really cool scene. And notice they're kind of glowing green. We're going to see in a minute that I'm pretty sure that's because they're food for a bigger critter. But anyway, they're nicely swimming around. Kind of reminds me of when Yoda was like, fine, I'll show you how to do this, and lifts the X-Wing out of the water. Now you may say, well, a fish, that's not as impressive as an X-Wing, right? Well, there may be something else coming. Because notice the fish are like, I'm out of here. And of course, they're out of here because, well, that is actually more impressive than an X-Wing. So I don't know how Ventress got it to come up, but she did, and it's not happy. Look at that thing. Look at those eyes. Ugh. Look at that maw. Oh, that giant nasty mouth. Ugh. And that image of it. Ew. And those giant tentacles. Yeah, very scary. So it knocks out the boat over and pummels them into the water. Not good. And we also learn what its name is. I love the closed captions. You always get good info. Vrathian. Maybe Vrathian? I don't know. Probably Vrathian. But anyway, that's the creature's name. But yeah, not good to be in the water right now. And immediately Omega is yoinked under the water by one of the tentacles, and down goes Ventress. I love that hair in the water. That's really cool. And I don't think we've seen underwater lightsabers in a while. It's not real often you get to see that. So that's pretty cool. Slices the tentacle off. And then they head up out of the water. Meanwhile, the Bad Batch is trying to help. But is it helping? I mean, shooting it is just going to make it mad, right? Sure enough, Ventress is like, no, it's not helping. Your friends are making it worse. I can do this on my own. And so Ventress indeed ends up controlling it, calming it down, I should say, which is pretty impressive. And this totally reminded me of Ahsoka doing the same thing with the whales in her series. Remember, she was standing there basically, communicating with them, basically. So yeah, pretty cool. I love Ventress. So glad she came back. So then I really think this is a neat little step that Crosshair makes. He pulls Omega up onto the ship and then also reaches his hand out to Ventress. That's really neat. I mean, Crosshair has been given a second chance, so Ventress deserves one as well. So then poor little Omega says, did you figure it out? Do I have a high M count? And Ventress tells a little white lie. She says, from what I've seen, no. So Wrecker then takes Omega off, and after Omega is gone out of the room, once again, the adults have a discussion. Crosshair says, you're lying. Actually, Ventress has a good point. Well, if Omega did have that potential, she'd have to be trained, which would mean leaving you behind. And of course, they're like, well, no way, you can't do that. Well, then you kind of prove my point. It doesn't really matter whether she have an M count or not if you won't let her go. It's very similar to when Ahsoka was challenging Grogu. Are you going to leave the Mandalorian and train with me, or are you going to stay with him? So yeah, I like Ventress's approach here. Then they tell Ventress, hey, the fact is, Ventress tells them, the fact is the Empire is after her, and they won't stop. So this is definitely where the title's coming from, Harbinger, because Ventress is basically saying, as she said at the beginning, I found you, they're going to find you too, and they're going to rock this island. So hopefully the batch leaves on their own, because I don't want this island to get destroyed. I think if they stay, it's gonna get bad. So she's like, if I were you, I would leave this place. You're not as safe as you think you are. Yikes. And then they say to her, well, you're not worried about the Empire coming after you? And she says, well, they can try, but I've got a few lives left. So that's kind of a wink and a nod to, they don't really explain how she made it, came back from the dead, but she's implying, yeah, I've done it once before, I can do it again. So, wow, really good episode. Went by so fast. My only complaint would be it was over in a heartbeat. But really excited about the next 2 episodes because I wonder if the batch is going to decide, okay, we really do need to tell Omega that, she's M count positive. And is that the identity crisis where Omega is trying to decide what to do? And is maybe the point of no return when she decides, maybe I do want to go to training? I don't know. Very interesting. But I kind of think the batch is going to, own up to this and tell her the truth. So let me know your thoughts on everything, especially on why they still think she's a war criminal and how you think Ventress came back from the dead. So we got our timeline here. Acolyte coming out. That's going to be awesome. 132 BBY. They're saying it's about 100 years before Phantom Menace. And, of course, we have Bad Batch going on right now. So lots happening in the Star Wars universe. So don't forget, March contest. Be a subscriber. Leave a comment. Get a book or a steel book. And, of course, we have the membership option if you're interested in that. And we have the Discord. Here we are talking about the Discord. 1,300 members now worldwide. So there's conversations going on 24/7. I will leave a pinned comment so you can join the Discord server if you're interested. Love to have you as part of the conversation. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to enjoy the awesome Bad Batch.